All right. Well, we're in chapter 18, Revelation, fall of Babylon. Hopefully you read it. If not, we'll just kind of go through it. Let's jump over to. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we did that little intro, which mostly covered some of this. We won't go through it again, but basically we're showing where all this stuff comes from in the Old Testament in chapter 18. But let's read a little bit here, and then we'll go back to verse by verse a little bit. So, verse 1. After this, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was made bright with his glory. And he called out with a mighty voice, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast. For all the nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living." And then I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, and lest you share in her plagues, for her sins are heaped high as heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Pay her back as herself has paid back others, and repay her double for her deeds. Mix a double portion for her in the cup she mixed. As she glorified herself and lived in luxury, so give her a like measure of torment and mourning, since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow. And mourning I shall never see. And this reason her plague will come in a single day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be burned up with fire. For mighty is the Lord God who has judged her." So, and then verse 9, "And then the kings of the earth who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning, and they will stand far off in fear of her torment and say, Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come." All right. As I said, you probably recognize a lot of that because we did that a couple weeks ago in that class, looking at the Old Testament and stuff. We obviously will not go back over there. We'll have some reference mentions to it. But if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend going back to see where all of these verses actually do come from, because they're all over the place. Any comments, observations you want to share from what you saw? Clark? Travis?
I
You don't
find
have to
it.
say anything, I'm just throwing it out there.
I was thinking this though. I find it, I don't know, interesting how it talks of Babylon, how I know God is talking about judgment to the Antichrist and his system, yet it also encompasses the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, I sort of don't know why I find that interesting, but it's like,
Because it's a mystery.
it is, it's like it's so much bigger than just his world system. Even those that are opposed to him are part of it
Yeah.
in the mystery Babylon. In the same. I mean, does that make any sense?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
political, it's religious, and it's, secular, non-secular, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question.
Max,
The
want to say
whole
something?
world.
I just wanted to read something, if I may.
Yeah.
Commercial Babylon seduces the unbelieving world into a materialistic, stupor, so that the people of the world will become drunk passion because of their relationship with Babylon.
And if you remember the video from last week, or the class from last week, we talked about where all that comes from, because of their wealth and their luxurious living, and how the nations are being influenced, bribed, and, you know, I mean, if you have eyes to see, it's clearly being, you can see it all over the place, even here in America.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So we know you talked about how waters and mountains and everything reference people and kingdoms and whatnot. In verse 2, the unclean birds, are birds represented anything that you know of?
What,
You know what I'm asking?
are you talking about a verse?
In verse
In
2,
verse 2, it says unclean bird.
clean and detestable birds.
Yeah,
and
so
like
we talked
spirits.
about this.
I can't remember what birds represent.
Scavenger
Wasn't
bird?
it about the desolation of these lands and
Yeah.
Babylon that just sort
Yeah.
of took
So don't
over?
get-
Scavengers.
Don't get the unclean bird. Basically, he's going through
I think it's the same thing.
in chaos, in the desert, in the wilderness. This is where chaos resides and where uncleanness resides. But don't get confused with, because later on in Revelation, we're going to talk about the birds have come to feast, right? The great supper. And that's going to, those birds are not have anything to do with this. Because this is just giving you a description of this land, these
So my
places.
question though is the birds. Do the birds represent anything like waters we talked about represent chaos, and the mountains represent kingdoms, and
No.
so the
it's
birds
just-
don't really
Yeah,
represent.
because in the context of
Okay.
this, he's just saying it's a place. Now we know that the unclean spirit are like demonic,
Right.
demons, okay? But he says it's also where unclean birds are, it's unclean and detestable animals are. So it's all those unclean things
Okay.
that live in that place. It's not, it's not supposed to represent anything
Okay.
specific.
There's nothing clean there.
Right.
I got
So I can see where you
But
think there might be,
So
because it's all ties in with demons and unclean spirits.
Yeah.
And unclean birds.
Right.
It's kind of like,
And whenever you see unclean in the Bible, you go, hold on a second.
yeah,
So you could have left birds out.
Might be thinking wrong, but yeah,
Yes.
scavenger
Yes.
birds.
scavenger.
I got a question.
Yeah,
In verse,
I encourage all the questions you can ask.
now if I can find it again, where she says, or where I sit enthroned as queen, I am not a widow.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'm not a widow? What is that?
well, let's get to there, we'll get to it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Clark?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this kind of reminds me of the Nineveh situation with Jonah, where he had to go in there and preach to people who,
To an unclean people.
Yeah.
didn't believe in God either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those people paranoid at least for a little while.
Yeah, for a little.
I have a feeling at this point, we're past the point of no
He's
return.
taking that thing apart.
Eventually though, it was destroyed eventually.
Yeah, I know. I said they returned for a little
Oh, for a
while.
little while, yeah, I see.
At least 100 years. or
Yeah, at least
something.
100,
About 100
yeah.
years, I think.
So then in verse 3, we talked about how the nations, remember what Satan's job is to deceive the nations. And so the nations are drunk, on the wine of the passion or immorality, and they've committed acts of immorality with her. Basically, he's saying, all of you are guilty. You're all part of the problem. But then he says in verse 4, another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, lest you partake in her sins, lest you share in her plagues. So don't participate in these sort of things. And sometimes I think the church, the worldly church, if you will, is doing just that. And then her judgment comes in 1 hour. Now, I can't tell you exactly what that means because I think an hour does actually mean an hour. I think whatever city that John or Jesus is referring to here, because it's a worldwide system as well, so this is where we're talking about it, like Travis insinuated there, it's a mystery. So we don't know the full details of it, but I would think that when she's destroyed, that religious beast, if you remember what we read, is going to be, I think it's whatever that city is going to be destroyed by either a meteor or a nuke in 1 hour.
Catastrophic.
Yeah, so just like,
It'll be
because
quick.
basically this is
Whatever.
a fulfillment of the shadow of Sodom and Gomorrah, if you will, come out of her. Judgment has come, right? Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it just means it's gonna be done quick. It ain't.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna take
Yeah.
years.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
It's gonna
And
be
it could
fast.
be, the hour could just reflect this is a short period of
Hour,
time.
hour and a half,
Right,
whatever.
right.
It's gonna be
It
quick.
could be, hey, it's a week, really, whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Well, if you think about
It's not
something
gonna
like
draw.
9/11, that was a day. I mean, but it was still
It was
That's-
an hour.
an hour. That
Yeah.
destruction happened.
Right.
Yeah, locally.
So these things can definitely happen. But, look, referencing, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but referencing Isaiah 34 as part of this, where John is getting this from, so we'll just kind of cover this a little bit. Draw near, O nations, to hear, give attention, O peoples, let the earth hear, and all that fills it, the world, all that comes from it. For the Lord is enraged against all the nations and furious against all their hosts. Okay? Those are the heavenly princes over nations. God has devoted them to destruction, has given them over for slaughter. Their slain shall be cast out, the stench of their corpses shall rise, the mountains shall flow with their blood, and all the hosts of heaven shall rot away, those rebellious watchers, if you will, and the skies roll up like a scroll. And we talked about, hey, didn't John talk about the heavens being rolled up? Well, there it is again in the Isaiah. And all their hosts shall fall as leaves fall from the vine, like leaves falling from the fig tree. And then he says, my sword has drunk its fill in the heavens. Behold, now it basically descends from judgment upon Edom. And we talked about how Edom is associated with this, with Babylon.
Got a question.
Yeah.
I was reading Peter, 2 Peter yesterday. Keep saying this word. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. Heavens. All right. When you think of heaven, you think of where God resides. It says heavens, which means there's more than one.
Well, there's different kind of, Paul talked about going to different heavens. There's the sky,
3 levels,
and
yeah.
then there's the stars that you see, that's another heaven.
Yeah.
And then there's the abode where God dwells.
Okay.
3 heavens.
Because Peter, when I was reading it, he was saying that heaven's going to be destroyed. The heavens are going to be destroyed.
The heavens, in the sense of these people, the rebellious,
Oh, the watchers?
the watchers, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's not going to physically destroy, like when we read we'll get into it, the new heavens and new earth. He's not, that's hyperbole. He's not really destroying. It's basically when you renovate your bathroom, you say, hey, I got a new bathroom.
Stored.
It's restored.
Okay.
Okay. I know, but this is all part of Peter stating how Jesus works. There's a lot of hyperbole. He's not going to destroy the earth and then destroy the heavens, all the heavens, and then remake it. It's a restoration, is what it is.
Okay.
And we won't care.
One way or the other, it doesn't matter about us, right?
It'll be better than the one.
Verse 6 in Isaiah there, the Lord has a sword, and it is satiate with blood. It is gorged with fat, with the blood of the lambs and goats, and with the fat of the kidney of rams. The Lord has a sacrifice in Basra. We talked about that, and the great slaughter in the land of Edom. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about how all that referenced back to Babylon. So then you have a list of the merchants of the world that got rich through verses 10 through 16, and how they bring these goods to this poor Babylon. And then again it says, for in a single hour all this wealth has been laid waste. All the shipmasters and seafaring men, sailors, and all those who trade is on the sea stood far off, and they cried out as they saw the smoke of her burning. So that tells me they can see from their ships, right? So that gives us a little bit of a clue. So, exactly where, I'm not quite sure, but I don't
A
know.
coastal city?
Some sort of coastal place, I think somewhere in the Middle East. We have that Suez Canal and the Red Sea that they, a lot of those shipping lanes through there. And all that wealth, the oil is their wealth, right? And the rest of the world gets rich by that wealth. And that's why they bribe and do the things they do. So see, it says they grew rich by her wealth, but then the city is laid waste in 1 hour. And then verse 20 in chapter 18, rejoice over her, O heavens, and you saints and apostles and prophets. So that includes us, right?
Yes.
For God has given judgment for you, that's us, against her. So this should be a very glorious verse for, it's all done for the believers, which I think is just, he's basically, you remember in chapter 6, he's the souls under the altar, how long, O Lord, till you avenge us? Okay, well, this is where he avenges. Then the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, so Babylon, the great city, will be thrown down with violence and will be found no more. So that doesn't mean like, when it says took up a stone like a great millstone, again, we didn't actually take up a millstone and throw it. It's just, hey, basically, Babylon is destroyed, it's thrown down and completely destroyed. So I really encourage you to go back and watch that video for a couple weeks ago if you want to see how this chapter 18 flows from the Old Testament.
Which one is that one?
Huh?
Which one?
What week?
2 weeks ago. It was called Introduction, chapter 17 and 18, but it deals mostly with 18 and where all the stuff comes from.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Yeah, I know.
So
Taking names.
if you back up to verse 4, I know you read from Isaiah 34, but a lot of that also comes out of Jeremiah 51. And if you start in 45, Jeremiah writes, come out of her, my people. That's directly out of that Revelation. Save your lives, each of you, from the fierce anger of the Lord. Do not let your heart grow. Do not be afraid when the rumor is heard in the land, for a rumor will come 1 year and then another the next, of violence in the land, of ruler against ruler. 47, therefore, behold, the days are coming when I will punish the idols of Babylon. Her entire land will suffer shame, and all her slain will lie fallen within her. The heaven and the earth and all that is in them will shout for joy over Babylon, because the destroyers from the north will come against her.
You said 41?
That was 51, 45 to 48. And there's a lot, that's just part of it, but there's a big
Yeah,
section.
and there's a lot, and going back to Jeff's question about she sits as a queen, again, we covered that a lot, and I know that we don't remember from 1 week to the next, and that's okay, but just as a reference point, that comes from Isaiah 47, and it's up on the screen now, where she's basically saying, now therefore hear this, you lovers of pleasures, who sit securely, who say in your heart, I am and there's no one beside me. I shall not sit as a widow. Okay? This is what God's repeating what she's saying. Or know the loss of children. Remember, we just read that. And the two things shall come to you in a moment. In 1 day, the loss of your children and widowhood shall come upon you in full measure, in spite of your many sorceries, your pharmakia, and the great power of your enchantments. You felt secure in your wickedness. You said, no one sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge led you astray, and you said in your heart, I am, and therefore no one is beside me. Who's that sound like?
It sounds like the Lord.
Yeah.
Sounds like the devil.
Devil,
Oh.
yeah, pride.
Yep.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, so I just want to say that's where that comes from,
All right,
the
thank
queen that we were reading about.
The widow part, I mean, today, if you're a widow, I mean, you probably got your husband's social security and all other kinds of benefits, but that day, wasn't a widow, it's like, if you're a widow, you're screwed, yeah.
Outcast.
I mean,
Because we've been talking a lot about the law on Wednesdays in Leviticus, and there's some very specific laws about how to care for the widow.
Yeah, widows and orphans, they're,
And orphans.
it's usually lumped together,
Yep.
so.
And even Jesus in his,
He brings it
in the
forward.
Gospels, brings up widows and orphans all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so in that context, it just seems like to me, she's just saying, hey, I'm not helpless. I'm great. You know, I'm not a widow.
I'm a queen.
I'm a queen. I'm a queen, not a widow. I'm powerful, not a
Oh,
widow.
that's
She's delusional.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, delusional.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't really think there's anything to read into it other than
No.
that.
Yeah, and just like verse 22, I mean, not much to read into this. It just says, basically, after she's destroyed, the sound of harpists and musicians, flute players, and trumpeters will be heard no more. And the craftsman of any craft will be found in you no more. And the sound of the mill will be heard in you no more. And the light of a lamp will shine in you no more. And the voice of the bridegroom and bride, don't get that confused with, you know, Jesus and the church and all that kind of
That's
stuff.
literal.
Because this is about the Babylon, not about us. So there will be no more basically marrying, right? So there'll be heard no more in you. For the merchants, for your merchants were the great ones of the earth, and all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. Again, pharmakia. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of the saints and of all who've been slain on earth. So anyway. So that really concludes chapter 18. Travis, are you doing 19?
No, I have to work. That's
Okay. So
So
I may end up doing it, guys, so I apologize, so. 19, we get into the glory of rejoicing, all of this, and it's gonna be a very exciting chapter. Make sure you read it, look for any, because we're gonna reference, Isaiah 63, probably Habakkuk, maybe even Zephaniah talks about this in chapter 1, the day of the Lord. Just really, really good stuff, how it all comes about, and God winning, and then the marriage, you know, it'll be the marriage of the supper. And I think that'll be an interesting conversation that we can have regarding the marriage supper.
25.
Because we'll talk about where that comes from, Isaiah 25, and is it in heaven or is it happens on earth, the marriage supper? And then about all those birds and vultures coming to feast. How's that work?
Yay, more birds.
Yeah. Because unclean birds are coming, right?
bet it happens on earth. I'm guessing. If we're,
Yeah.
that's where Christ is gonna be on the Mount of Olives, and so I figure the marriage supper will be wherever
And
Christ
that's,
is.
and that's what it says in Isaiah 25.
Is it?
Yeah.
Man, I got it.
You think? Ah, look at that.
All right.
Well, if there's no more, I mean, Phil, we can talk more, but I really don't have anything else to add.
Well, since you're, I didn't want to break in with this, but in reading 18, and doing some study on it, I found something that helped me read it.
Okay?
So I'm gonna break down, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, I'm just gonna break down, I'm gonna give you some numbers, so if you're taking notes, this might help you read it, and get more out of it. It's kinda like watching a prize fight. 18 verses 1 through 3, you know, this is all judgment, so, 1 through 3 is judgment pronounced. Verses 4 through 5, judgment avoided. Verses 6 through 8, and I'll go over this again and actually send it in text if you want. 6 through 8 is defined, judgment defined. 9 through 19, judgment lamented. Verse 20 alone is enjoyed, judgment enjoyed. 21 through 23a is completed. 23b through 24 is justified. Go back and read it again with that in mind, and it kind of reads a little bit.
I've always
It
been.
helped me anyway.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I've always been fascinated with the whole pharmakeia sorcery thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh man, that's today. That is
Yeah.
this.
No doubt.
No, we got a pill for everything.
Good
No
for
doubt.
everything, whether it's
Give me
prescribed
the-
or illegal.
Or
Yes.
works or not.
Correct. And it's like,
Or dick
you know,
or
like I said, I've been
not.
going to the doctor
Yeah, no
for
doubt.
the first time in my life. And it's like, they don't care about,
Nope.
don't care about my health.
Nothing.
All they want to do is just,
Give you drugs.
Or
They don't-
procedures, drugs.
they
and
want me to
procedures.
come in
Yeah.
and just pay them to visit.
Right.
They care more about that than my prescriptions. Then they care about prescribing something. So the main interest is just get me in the door to charge me, and then we'll give him something. But it's not my health, and it's
That's
like
a good point.
I've realized
Yeah.
I'm taking their advice. I'm doing what they're saying. I'm doing my own thing. Looking for. I want health, not. Let me fix this symptom with a pill.
And
cover
they,
it up.
and
No
they don't even
sorcery
have
here.
to diagnose you, because if you watch TV at all, the commercials are diagnosing you.
Yeah.
Telling you what to go tell your doctor to
Yeah.
prescribe. you.
Give me this.
And none of those are cheap.
And that used to be illegal.
It used to be.
We're the only country in the
Is
world
that
that
right?
does that.
Yeah, it used to
You
be
go watch
illegal
TV
to
in
advertise
Europe,
prescription
they don't do
drugs.
that.
Yes.
Why? Because you can't walk in a
Yeah.
store. and
But
buy
you know,
it.
if you were,
That's right.
when Clark was talking
They changed the
earlier,
law